Sam, where do you think the Lions were able to get on top of you tonight?
Plenty of areas. I mean, thought centre bounce obviously hurt us. They got a lot of territory from that. We just couldn't retain it, in our front half. Even though we were in front at quarter time, but contested possession was like minus 15, and we could never sort of reel it in. It sort of stayed about that for the rest of the night. I think we're minus 16 loose ball gets, and now forward 50. Things once you get that type of thing, they start moving the ball pretty comfortably, and we just didn't have the answers required to beat a quality team, and we feel like we've sort of been saying we're a work in progress, and we've got some things to work on, and that's a good example of it. We just didn't have quite what it takes to beat them. Today we had some chances, and a couple of good things followed by multiple bad things. It's not going to get it done against the best sides.
Sam, you must have been frustrated with the lack of tackles that you applied, but in terms of pressure, but then the missed tackles as well. Must have been a frustrating day from that aspect of things.
Yeah, I think we had 9 players who didn't lay a tackle today. I mean, the way they play is they're very good at taking pressure off themselves. It's a big strength of theirs. So not being able to get enough pressure onto them we sort of chatted about that before the game, and we scouted it, and we suspected that they would play that way, and we just weren't able to get enough pressure on them at key moments in the game, and the weight of numbers of that led to the loss.
The team looked
and on the flip side of that, their composure and their pressure, ultimately allowed them to put pressure on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I thought early in the game we actually had we had a lot of chances to put some scoreboard pressure on, and we missed opportunities going just the last kick or the shot on goal. And if we could have put a bit of scoreboard pressure on, you think some other things might have changed in the game. But overall we need to perform better than that to beat the best, as I said.
the Lions' pressure in terms of decision making. There was lots of errant handballs, missed kicks. That must be really frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, our skill, our ball use and skill. We regularly talk about being predictable to each other, and we didn't handle the occasion of today. We know playing against them, you're going to have to take your chances. And I thought, and the players were chatting, they felt like we created enough chances in the game. We just couldn't. I think it was 2 inside 50s. I think they were +2 for inside 50s in the game, and we caused some opportunities for ourselves, but we just couldn't finish our work. And I think the quality of skill and ball use, you're going to have to take your chances. And I think Warps missed a set shot, and then they go down and kick a really nice goal from the kick in. And it was a bit of the way the game was summed up was they were just a little bit more classy and a little bit cleaner with the ball, whether that was by handball, by ball handling around the middle of the ground, or whether that was their kicking skill and their finishing.
Broadly speaking, did you feel like either side of the second quarter it was a contest that could have gone either way? Was that how significant did you see that second quarter in deciding the contest?
I think they probably had us. It felt to me like they had us on the ropes for most of the game, if I'm really honest. The second quarter they kicked 4 goals or maybe even 5, all in a very, very quick. And without that, the game is probably reasonably level. But I wouldn't have said that we deserved to be closer. I thought that they had the upper hand for the majority of the day, and it took them a while to really put us away. But we didn't have enough answers for the game that they brought. And while we created some chances, we just weren't clean enough to put any sort of pressure on them on the scoreboard, and then create any other pressure from that, whether that was physical or perceived.
We know Sicily can be an inspirational captain, but he can also work hard on his sleeve. So early in the final quarter, when the game was still on the line, 30 points down, he gave away 50 that resulted in a Brisbane goal. Ginnivan also gave away 50 in the late stages of the match. How disappointing was that? I mean, that was for verbal abuse towards an umpire, so both of them. How disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously both wear their heart on their sleeves, and I thought Sis was really good tonight. He had 9 or 10 intercept possessions and looked like he had his marking hands back, so it was good to get him back into a bit of form. Obviously disciplined late in the game. It was an enormously frustrating game, and they need to learn from that and be better. Obviously the umpires have got a very, very difficult job, and giving away 50s for dissent is far from what we expect of ourselves.
How did Cam Mackenzie handle getting subbed at half time?
Yeah, he was frustrated. He said I'm very frustrated. And I said, "Oh, who had he?" Because I myself. So, I mean, I think he took it. He was frustrated at his own performance. You know, he missed a couple of weeks. So he broke his hand, missed a couple of weeks. First operation he's ever had. Got him back into the side straight away. And he just hasn't had that, spark that he had beforehand. So, I mean, he's going to be a very, very good player for a long time for us. So, it's up to all of us to figure out how to get him back to his best footy and make sure that he continues to grow as an athlete. And, he wasn't at his best today. And we had Finn, who's obviously a more than capable player. We thought running would be important, and they had a couple of players who were going pretty well. So we thought his flexibility might help us in the second half. And, I think we were able to pretty much halve the third quarter. But, in the end, it was not enough.
Sam, what did you assess the games of Aean, Weddle and Morrison? Aean was very good again today, and Weddle, it was an almost game. At times he looked like he was going to light it up, and on some aspects he let himself down with a few finishing touches.
Yeah, I mean, I think Weds has been in really good form, and we're using him in a few different roles. And for a player so young, had his 21st last week. So for a player used so young to be used so significantly is really important for us and great for him. But his game was a little bit like us, where he did a lot of good stuff, but the finished product was, not always exactly what you wanted. But I'm really pleased with how he's going. I think Carl's having a fantastic season, and it's probably not the right time to bring it up, but you'd like to think that they're at least discussing him in sort of all-Australian type of talk, because he's had that type of season so far. And Harry Morrison actually said to him after the game, I think it's the best game he's played since I've been coaching. I thought he played at a level that was above everyone else for us. When we're looking for players who are trying to drag people along with them and really stand up, I thought Harry was the one guy who I thought, watching, for those who watched it live, I'm sure they noticed he was the guy who was just genuinely trying to, pick up some guys and drag them along with him up to the level that he was playing. So, I'm rapt for Harry that he was able to play well, but the challenge for us is to get more guys playing at a level that's closer to that. Otherwise, we can't compete against the best sides.
On a positive front, Conor McDonald seemed to play really well and kick 3 goals, crucial goals when needed. How do you assess his performance?
Yeah, I mean, Connor is an interesting one. He's one of those. Some players are much better than their stats suggest, and he's certainly one of them. So sometimes you look at the stats at the end of the game and you think, he was a bit quieter than I thought. And then when you watch it as a coach, you really value what he brings to the team. His work rate, his running power. He's very selfless in the way he plays. So for him to actually get on the end of them today is great reward for him. He's probably been a little bit quieter the last couple of weeks, but from a coach's perspective and a teammate's perspective, he's doing exactly what we require of him. So, I think our forwards in general, the forwards struggled today. We weren't able to get a contest in front of the ball often enough on the ground, more so than in the air. Quite often it's been an intercept mark issue for us, but certainly this week we just couldn't get enough numbers around the ball to lock it in our front half, and they were able to transition the ball a little bit more easily than we'd like. So for Connor to be able to get on the end of them, it was a reward for effort for him.
You spoke about the clearances. Obviously, Brisbane dominated in terms of that. You look forward to the next 3 games. Collingwood, you've got the Western Bulldogs, you've got Adelaide, you've got some excellent midfields. How do you go about rectifying that area?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big challenge for us. Centre bounce in particular, that's 2 weeks in a row we've been really torched in there. So that's a traditional, I feel like we've been pretty good in that area for the last 18 months. So centre bounces is an area where we know we can be potent ourselves if we can win the ball. But we had some significant issues around that area for now 2 weeks. So there's a bit of work to do around centre bounce, and it was a very low stoppage game between the arcs. So the majority of it was centre bounce.
Jarman and the family all doing okay?
Pardon?
Jarman and the family all doing okay?
Yeah. I mean, they've had a baby in recent days, and had a good discussion with him, and he just thought, family is a good place to be right now, and obviously we're very, very supportive of that. So really glad that he's at home with Zion and spending some quality time with the family. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.